I'm Tarot Oracle, and this is my video tutorial on how to shuffle tarot cards. Tarot cards seem like they should be easy enough to shuffle, but a lot of times it's kind of confusing because you will have a instance to where you cannot grip the tarot cards all the way, or the tarot cards are a little too thick, tarot cards are a little too thin, tarot cards are delicate, tarot cards are made of paper. So sometimes it's just not that obvious. But in this tutorial, I will teach you exactly how to do it properly and easily to where you, if you would like, can do it yourself. This is the Llewellyn deck. I have trimmed it. These are slightly smaller than your average set of tarot cards. You would just treat these like you would playing cards. They're thin, a little waxy, but very flexible. So you can just treat these directly like you would standard playing cards. Here's how I recommend would shuffle. You're going to break it in half, let this half fall here, and then just do a shuffle like this. And you can see it's a very good mix. And do not bridge them, obviously, but it's a very good mix, you can see, of the cards. I would do a standard shuffle first. Then if you're going to do reversals, I would pull this half out, reverse it, and put it on bottom or top. I would do a little overhand shuffle action. And then when done, I would do one more standard riffle. As you can see, you've got a good separation on this, and then let the user cut it, and then you're done. So that's a good mix of cards. What I don't like is a standard riffle followed by a standard riffle. I'm not a big fan of a standard riffle, which will intertwine each card to every third or fourth or 10th card, depending upon how you did it. Ideally, a standard riffle would look like this. But do not do this with your tarot cards because this will rip them up. Ideally, I mean, you're using a riffle, you're going to mix the cards intertwined here, and you can see that like every single card is intertwined with every other card, except for the bottom where I messed it up and the gap, etc., etc. But you get the general idea of how this is done. So every card is basically just moved by one. Now if you do that again, you have the possibility of moving all the cards back to their original position, or moving it down one. I don't think it's that thorough. So my recommendation from personal experience is to do one riffle. As you can see, a good mix. Just let gravity do it, and then I would either cut them, do a series of cuts maybe, or just do your overhand shuffle. To do an overhand shuffle, you're just going to hold it like this. You're going to grab packets off the top and let it fall. Grab more packets and let it fall. And that is an overhand shuffle. And that gets good separation. Once the overhand shuffle's done, do one more riffle. You can see good mix, and then you're done. And then let your querent or user cut the deck, and then you just start pulling off the top or pull from random positions. The next group of cards are the big ones. These are cards that are just too large for you to wrap your hands around and do a traditional shuffle. So instead of doing it like a dice, what we're going to do is we're just going to grab the corners of these. There's two ways to do it. I'll show you overhand and corner. We're going to grab the corners and just let go like this and just mix the corners. And how you're going to do that is hold it like this and then grab and just let the corners go and just mix the corners together. Mix the corners together like that, and you can see get a good nice mix on that. So that's all we're going to do with these cards. We're going to do it the same. Now there's two types of big ones. One is the thin, not so laminated big one. The next big one is the very thick, heavily laminated big one that has an issue with the corners peeling like this one does. So you want to be careful with this one and probably not do this technique on this one because of the peeling problem. But this one does not have a peeling problem, and this is good for, you can see the thickness. This would be good for this technique. For these, you want to do an overhand shuffle, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. First, let's do the corner shuffle. So we're going to get our two big ones, and get one big one in each hand, insert the sex jokes here, and we're going to just put our thumb here and then our index finger here and just release like this, but do it both at the same time. So let me see if I can get this on camera. So now we're going to get half here and half here, and then we're just going to do the corners like this, like a dice. Okay? So now you see we have a very good mix of this, and all you do is just set it upright and just push them together. And now you're set to go. Again, if you want to use reversals, you can get the top and just reverse it. You can either get the middle, pull it out and reverse it, or whatever, and then follow that up with a little overhand shuffle, and we'll do this long ways. So this is the elongated overhand shuffle. You can't get your hand around it like this unless you have just huge hands, but you can, however, just let go of small packets, and let go of small packets, let go of more small packets, etc., and you've effectively overhand shuffled the deck. Okay, so we'll do the corner thing one more time after we did the overhand shuffle. We'll get these two packets, and we'll get the corners and just mix the corners together. Hopefully you can see that. Then we'll just kind of push together, and again we have a nice mix of the cards. And then you have your person or you give it a cut and you're ready to go. So that's how you handle the thin big uns. The next one is the thicker big uns. And again, these are very, very thick cards right here. Very thick, and they're laminated. And again, we have a corners peeling. They're so laminated that the corners are peeling. And so that's going to present us with a problem of, if we do this corner thing much, it's just going to trash the lamination on the deck. For that one, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to let it fall. So instead of forcibly putting these two together like this, instead of forcibly doing this, we're going to just let it naturally fall. So do this, you just let the cards just naturally fall like that, and you see you still have a very good mix for the cards, just letting them naturally just fall where they want to fall. So we'll do that with these to save our lamination and to save our cards. So we're going to just cut them in half, going to get it ready like we're going to do the corner thing, but instead of putting a lot of pressure on here with your index finger, you're just going to put a very light amount of pressure, and then you're just going to release with your thumb. So a very light amount, and just release with your thumb and let it fall. Okay? So here we have this. Put these two together. I'm just going to let these fall like this. That's a pretty chopped job, and it's a very terrible shuffle, but we'll try it again with a little more heart and soul into it. So let these just fall like this. Alright, so we have a mix. I mean, it's not as good of a mix as a full shuffle. However, you're going to save your cards and not completely ruin the lamination on these. So we're just going to let gravity do its work and combine these instead of forcing them together. What you don't want to do with heavily laminated cards is to like just horribly force them together. Something, you know, like this, where you're just forcing them together like that. You don't want to do that. So what you don't want to do with heavily laminated cards, once they're kind of together like this, you don't want to just like forcibly jam them together. Just instead, once they're mixed, you want to just mix them and just let gravity do its work and just lightly push them together. So give you a little more life on your laminated cards. Again, these are hard to handle. Many people will just end up just cutting these several times, but if you do want to do a full shuffle, which I want to do because I want to have randomly mixed cards, nothing says bad news like getting the same cards on 3 different readings, is just cut them again, cut them, just let them fall like this. Get a pretty good mix, nothing amazing, but a fairly good mix. And you're ready to go with the heavily laminated big uns. Okay, these are medium sized. This is an oracle. This is the Wisdom of the House of Night oracle. These are medium sized. However, they have pewtered, shiny, silvery edges. All right. So you want to be careful with the edges. On these, I usually just do a light, very light corner mix like this. So you see there wasn't a lot of pressure on that, and I get a very good mix of the cards on these. So again, with the edges like that, I'll just put them together and let gravity do all the work, and then I have it all set. So with pewtered edges, it depends on the quality of the card, how thick the card is. These are nice and flexible, so I am going to do it's like a half drop, half force shuffle. And you can see these are mixed very, very well now. So it's not all 100% shuffle. It's not all 100% where you're doing this really hard. It's like half mix of what I showed you before, to where you're doing this kind of light, letting it half fall and letting it half just mix. It's very, very, you can hear the difference of the cards when they're mixing. I mean, you don't get a perfect mix, but you do get a very good mix, and you save your pewtered edge on these. So that's how I treat these. If they're thick and they have a pewtered edge and you're really worried about the edge, again, do a long overhand shuffle, and you can get a good mix on an overhand shuffle. So if you're really worried about the edges, just stick with an overhand shuffle and do that a couple times and you're all set. The next group I want to talk about is the cardboard box cards. These are thick cards that are like handling a cardboard box almost. They have no lamination, they're all paper, and they're very, very thick, and it's difficult to do anything with them. You can see just, I mean, this is 78 cards, and look how big that is. It's just pretty good size. So what we're going to do on these is we're going to do the half and half corner shuffle like I showed you before, to where it's more of a drop, less of a drop, more of a drop, just let it go. So you have a nice mix in here, and again we're going to do it again, just drop it, very light touch, a nice mix and a drop. So you have it here, you have it here, and you have it there. I mean, not the best mix, especially, you know, toward the end, but it's okay. It's better than ruining the cards. Now, if you do want to manually shuffle these the hard way and you have the hands to support it, you can do that. However, Jesus, this is huge. Okay, you can do that, but it's just not recommended. It's easier just to do the drop method, and then you're all set. These are like the thickness of cardboard boxes, so kind of weird to shuffle. You don't really want to damage them. You don't want to bend them up much, because they will probably be all warped up. So that's how I would handle that. Next technique I want to talk about is the Passover method. These are deviant moons. I want to keep these intact. I don't want to ruin them or be shuffling them. They're also too big to do a standard shuffle. I could do the elongated overhand shuffle, but this is just called a Passover. You're just going to pass over a few cards, pass over a few more, pass over a few more, pass over a few more. Now don't get creative and do this, which is pass over some here, pass over some from the bottom to the bottom, pass over some from the top to the top, etc., etc. You're just cutting the cards at this point. So you want to just keep it all standard. Just pass it over, pass the collection over, and you can do this while talking to the person, ask them a question. You're just going to pass a few cards over at a time. This is effectively an overhand shuffle, but you can do this with virtually any size hand, I mean, even baby size hands. You can just pass these over piece by piece. So very easy shuffle to do, very simple. You can do these with any size cards. It's nice, relaxing. It's very, very lenient on the cards. You're definitely never going to ruin the cards doing this. So what I would do is do a few passovers. This is just an overhand shuffle between two hands, and then I would go ahead and take the middle section out, reverse it, and then do a few more of these types of mixes. So this is just a quick mix of the cards. No matter what size hands you have, it's very easy to do, and you can do it between these two hands, whatever. That is the mix them up, pass them over. And the last thing I want to show you is just something, if you want to hurry up or do something a little unusual. Cut, 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 cut. So you're just mixing it half and half. Keep it even. And then at the end, you're going to just pick these up and then do your mix like I showed you before, either with a gravity or with a forceful method or whatever. So that gets you a good mix, or a fairly good mix here, as well as a mix in there. And it's fairly quick if you're just going and you're just talking. You're just going to do this, talk, 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 pick them up, straighten them up, and then do your mix or your shuffle or whatever. And then you have a nice mix of the cards, and then put them together, have the person cut it, and then you have like a overhand shuffle and a mix at the same time. So just something a little unusual to add there, and that's it. That's all I have. So there's your various type of tarot cards and how to shuffle them and how to keep them randomized so you're not pulling the same cards all the time. So as a final reminder, if you are going to shuffle, I would recommend not doing just a riffle shuffle followed by another riffle shuffle. I would recommend, this is just personal opinion, I'd recommend a riffle shuffle followed by some overhand action, maybe a cut, and then another riffle shuffle, and then have the current cut it however they want to cut it, and that will give you a nice mix of cards. So I am Tarot Oracle, and this is my lesson on how to mix cards.